He's here to share some of his stunning photos with us tonight. Darren, it's so good to have you here in the studio so you can tell us about these photos that you took. Let's get straight into it and put one of them up so we can refer to them and have a look.
That's not the Carterets.
That's not the Carterets. This is. Tell us a bit more about this photo.
Well, most of the beaches around the islands, there's 7 small islets on top of a larger coral atoll, are eroding away quickly. And so there's a lot of tree stumps on the beach that, that would have been fertile, sort of part of the forest not long ago. 15, 20 metres out, there would be more tree stumps sort of eroding away underneath. And not long ago, people lived out there and grew crops in what is now underwater. Yeah,
just how quickly are these levels rising?
Dramatically, in that you can see that trees have fallen into the water in the last months, and every month more do. Yeah. There was a prediction that the islands would be completely uninhabitable by 2015, and that didn't happen.
Right.
But it is still obviously dramatic.
Okay, let's take a look at the next picture that we've got here. Beautiful underwater shot. So
the older boys will go out fishing most days. This is just on the reef, fairly close to one of the bigger islands, and they'll catch small reef fish and supplement their diet that way. They don't catch many large fish on the reef, and the reef is dying. It's hard to see there, but it's not the vibrant colour that it would have been 20, 30 years ago, and that might come down to warmer waters and acidification. Yeah. But it's just a fact that they don't. The lack of coral means fewer fish breed. Yeah,
it's interesting to compare the stories of these boys and perhaps their grandparents' generation, the older fishermen that you managed to talk to as well. What did they tell you about the area?
I've heard this fairly consistently from older fishermen, that when they were boys they could easily catch enough to feed their family at a beach near their house with a rod. An hour or two would feed a large family for a day or two. And now they will need a boat, 3 or 4 men to go out for 6 to 8 hours. Right. With fuel, and it's a very different scenario.
Yeah, let's play the next shot here.
So this is, there's a local enterprise, real community-spirited way to try and make some money from the plentiful resources, still with, you can see the sea cucumber.
Yes, yes.
There's more than a dozen varieties, and they grow very healthily and well, anything from this size to, I saw one that big.
Right, but not for themselves to eat.
They don't like them, they don't eat them. So they will sell to a Chinese businessman who comes by about once a month, and when they've got enough, they'll send a message. Okay. And they're making some money. They use the money. There's not a lot of. It's a cashless sort of community, but they're realising that they need to start generating income. Yeah. And they use it for schools, and just slowly, I think they. Moving towards being able to afford to move to the mainland, where they're inevitably going to have to.
How do they feel about that, having to move?
Mixed feelings. I don't think any of them want to move. Some have, because they saw it as inevitable. Some have lost their homes and they've had to. There's almost a denial about the need, but they're very reluctant. They live very close to the land. You can see there's no roads, there's no concrete that separates them from the earth. They live in nature. They grow their food meters from their house and catch the fish. They bathe in the sea. They sleep on the sand. They're really connected to their island in a way that I don't think we can understand living in a city or a town. If they're separated from that, it's not easy for them.
Yeah,
it's
interestingly, during my time there, I had the opportunity to be briefed by people who are doing real-time reporting on tidal information, and it's very interesting to see that, according to real data, that the changes to levels are actually very, very minuscule. So it's encouraging to see that, but it was
they could grow their own
not
crops
just
and
on
catch
the
their own fish
good to visit
coconuts, and
see
they were able to live
minuscule.
well for such a long time.
So it's encouraging to see that
enough to sustain themselves, and the fish stocks are depleting, and so I think they're still, by their nature, very happy people, but there's concern that they have to move on. The two islands up there used to be one island. They separated some time ago.
Right.
But for a long time you could walk between them, but you can't now. And on the smaller of the island, there's two families, maybe sort of 10, 12 people living there.
Right.
And they can't stay much longer, and they know it.
Yeah. Is the international community doing enough to help these people?
Many would say not. And the Papua New Guinea government has spent some money on relocation, but more is needed. They need to build houses and amenities and more school rooms, and they're in trouble and sort of need help.
The plight of these people in particular is not unique to this area, though.
This is similar to what I've seen in Kiribati and Tuvalu. There are islands in the Solomons that are eroding away rapidly too. There's not too many of the low-lying areas that don't have a higher ground quite close that the people would feel comfortable to go to. Kiribati is another one that doesn't have a higher ground. They're going to have to move nations if it gets much worse. So the Carteret Islanders are possibly the first who will really need to leave their home because of rising seas and eroding.
What drew you to this project in particular? We're seeing some pictures there too.
I have long been fascinated with the Pacific. I was born in Fiji, and I truly like being among these people, and anything I can do to document and raise awareness and raise curiosity. I really enjoy doing that.
Is there anything that surprised you in this recent trip when you were taking pictures of these people? What did you discover?
How connected they were to the world around them, as I mentioned before. They love living there, and they have for a long time, and I can just to be there and be immersed in that. I can really feel a sense of what it must be like to be separated and have to leave that. It's not like leaving a house.
No. Yeah. Well, some stunning pictures. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing those with us. We really appreciate it and wish you all the best in your next adventure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
That was Darren there. On to our next story.